Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, you're going to learn how to make a gold, what would you call it? It's like a gold, I don't know what to call it. It's like a texture product that's gold. Think of it like on the houses. What I can think of is in Tuscany, where it's almost like that fresco style. It's like drywall plasters like on the side of a house, and it's got that really gritty look to it, but I want it in gold. Now this one here, I did this one with Texture Fiero, DecoArt Texture Fiero, and absolutely gorgeous. I don't have any more of that product. I don't even know if they still make it, because I can make it myself without having to have another product. Now I'm going to do some experiments, because since I've done this, DecoArt has come up with two new products, and it's the DecoArt Matte Metallics and Extreme Sheen. So I was usually making this with the regular metallics, but I'm going to try it with this, and I put them out here. So what I'm going to be using for this experiment, and I may or may not need this one because it depends on the consistency of the mixture, is a DecoArt Media Modeling Paste Clear, DecoArt Media Texture Sand Paste Neutral, DecoArt Glamour Dust Gold, the DecoArt Dazzling Metallics Splendid Gold, the Matte Metallics in Vintage Brass, and the Extreme Sheen in 24 karat gold. So I just want to, they don't exactly match in the type of gold other than these two, but it's just more of the effect. So with the Texture Fiero, I mean, it's like a matte granite, gold granite type of thing. And it is flexible, but it is cracking. So when you use that, you can put varnish on it if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the texture sand paste. If you don't have this type of product, you can just add sand to the mixture, and then you would need the modeling paste. So I'm going to start first without the modeling paste because I may not need it. So I'm going to make three batches. I'll make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. And what I'll do at the end, I'll just combine them properly into this container. Make a bit more. It'll be interesting to see what you get when you have everything together. So I've got that. Now what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of the Glamour Dust. Now this is a powder. It's glittery powder. Now what I could do if I wanted to, I've got actual metallic powder down in the studio where we make our custom pens and our inlay rings. I could actually use like powdered aluminum, powdered copper, powdered tungsten. Titanium. I can use an actual metal powder in this if I wanted to. It's quite pricey, so if I was doing a custom order for something, then I would do that. But for an art product, you don't need to go to that extreme. Just get pigments. Even metallic pigments work just as well. So I'm going to put in a good amount. And what this is going to do, we may not get the sparkle out of this, but it's going to dry things out. And that's what we're looking at. We want to make this nice and thick, because if it's too thin, it's going to make a mess. And then if it's too thin, there's really not much you can do with it. So we add the powder dried out. But if it's too thick, we can add the modeling paste to thin it out. With this, you want to be very careful how you mix it, because you don't want the powder to get into the air. You don't want to inhale it. So it already changes the base color of the modeling paste. Now I already did a video on this, creating a black granite style using black ice. And that actually turned out quite lovely. If you wear a mask when doing this. The products are non-toxic, but if you inhale something that doesn't belong in your body, that's not good. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of the metallic. So remember, the goal of the powder is to thicken it up. It's still pretty thin, but we want to make sure that we have, enough of a grit in there. We want to also make sure it's gold enough. See, this one actually is pretty good. So, yeah, this is nice. I find that this one here, the actual Dazzling Metallic, is much more liquidy. It's more fluid, where the Matte Metallics are much thicker. Even this extreme sheen isn't bad. Yeah, this one here is not quite gold enough. That's the closest color right there. So I'm going to add more of the gold because it's not enough. And this is where it gets a bit thin. So that's why with the modeling paste, didn't think we were going to need it. But if we had added too much powder, then yeah. So because I don't want to waste this, I'm going to mix that in there. And although this is going to make it super thin, I don't want to waste it. So again, you can add whatever you have available for your for a pigment. And you can also add just more texture paste, a texture sand paste. It just all depends on what the consistency of what you have. So I'm just going to add a bit more of this. You can also let this stuff dry out a little bit. Once you've mixed it up, you can dry it out. And you just keep mixing and keep mixing and keep mixing. And I would say within, a couple of hours, it should be nice and thick. So the extreme sheen doesn't quite have the strength, the pigment strength, which is funny because I would think extreme sheen would be like really, really strong. I would have to add a lot more paint to get a half decent gold. Excuse me. These are all going to go in one container as a fourth experiment. I know what's going to happen with it. It'll be fine, but just to show you guys. So that I can come in here with this one. Now, if I was to actually use a pigment, an actual pigment, when we make our pens, we really, really, really like, well, actually there's 3 pigments that we like. Black diamond, which is actually can be used for makeup. We use black diamond pigments, eco-epoxy pigments, which are rockstar yummies, and Perlex. The Perlex are a bit heavier, but Perlex could be something you could put in with this. They're on the low end of the price scale, but the eco-epoxy ones I absolutely love. Actually, I should do a video for that, using an actual pigment. Pigment is what's used in paint. But the stuff in the paint is actual pigments, like where you can say phthalo blue is PB15 in that. The pigments that I use for the pens, it doesn't work that way. So there we go. All right, so let's get 3 cards. So it doesn't really matter what the card is. I'm going to get something that I want to cover up. So let's use that one. Let's use that one. Excuse me. Let's use that one. Because it's thick, I'm thinking this one might be a bit thin. Oh, that's way too thin. Holy smokes. Sorry, I should have had this chosen already. I should have had this chosen. There we go. I got a bunch here. So I'm gonna, let's see, we have 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th with all the mixtures put together. So let's see what happens. So we'll take this one, and we're talking about a day. Again, you can let this dry a little bit, and I actually may do that because this has to dry before I can show it to you. So I think what I'm going to do is let this dry on the palette paper just to see what we get out of it. Yeah, this is quite thin. I wouldn't be able to stencil this. This is way too thin. So we'll put that there. And we'll take this one. Oh, I like this one. The consistency. The colors are, not quite as strong because it's the matte metallics, but I like the texture of this one. Okay. And then we'll take this one. I can really see the flecks of gold in this one. It's kind of not very strong, but I can tilt it to the light. I can see it. Now you can also, without without mixing everything together, you can just use a texture sand paste, stencil, and then paint it on top. But the problem is if your stencil is quite detailed, it's really difficult to paint on it and without getting everything all mixed up. So let me take that. So this is everything mixed together. Actually, you know what? Let's make it fair. Let's take everything. It's just gonna go in the container because I know that this is gonna work. And when you make it, that's why I'm putting this in the container. If you make it and you find it too thin, just leave it on your palette paper and set a timer on your phone or whatever to come back to it about every I would say every 10 minutes to start, and just mix it up. And what you're all doing is just evaporating the moisture. Then when it starts to thicken up, come back every couple of minutes, you know, and just mix, and go from there. And then just put it into a container. The texture Fiero is absolutely beautiful. I unfortunately, since moving to a smaller studio, I don't have the room to bring in all the products that I need. So I would prefer, and to save money as well, you know, I would prefer to be able to make it myself. So there we go. So just gonna flatten this out. If you have animals in the house, make sure that you put put something, close the door so they don't jump into this. And there we go. Alrighty, so now, oh yeah, look at this. Oh my God, I don't know if you guys can see that. This one here, I don't know if you can see whoa! The glitter, not the glitter, the shine. I can see it from here. It's beautiful. Now what I also noticed is because the first one was quite fluid, it's starting to level out a little bit. This one, not so much. This one, yeah, a little bit of leveling, and this one here seems to be holding the palette knife strokes. So we'll see what it looks like. So I'm going to give this about a day to dry, and then when it does, we'll come back. But I'm going to be staying in my room here, and I'm going to keep stirring this up. See, it's already starting to thicken up because the furnace is on. So I'm going to keep coming in here and stirring. And the consistency I'm looking for is a consistency of that, where I can tilt it like this, and it doesn't come out. All right, we're back. So I waited a day just to make sure. And what I realized that with the mixtures that I made, and I wrote the notes to make sure I got it in right order, the sparkle coming off the glamour dust is unbelievable. I was really, really surprised how well this turned out. So this is the Dazzling Metallics. Yeah, the DecoArt Dazzling Metallics is the matte metallics, extreme sheen, and then I took all four and mixed them together. And this basically looks like something, you know, a bit lighter than this and darker than these. Then this one, what I took is the all four mixture, and then I added a palette knife amount of the American DecoArt texture, the rose gold. And I chose the rose gold because of how, oh my goodness, how thick it is. It wasn't going to thin down the mixture, and I wanted to just warm it up a little bit, and I thought that was kind of pretty. So then I took everything, put it into an empty container, and now I have my own DIY rose gold, semi-rose gold paste. And then it's flexible, which is really nice. It doesn't crack. I like that idea. And also you can see when I was putting with the palette knife that it retained a little bit of the strokes, except for this one, it retained a lot of the palette knife strokes. So that's something to keep in mind now when I'm doing the work. So that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this project. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to the description below, click on the link to the private Facebook group, because that's where I'm hanging out. But let me know, do you use any type of like a sand-based, gritty-based, some type of that type of product? Have you made it yourself? Have you ever used it? And if you have used it, what type of artwork do you like using with it? And what's your favorite technique? So let me know in the comments below answers to those questions. So I'm going to clean up and get ready for my next video. So until I see you then, stay inspired.